Go ahead and take out your outline right away. We're going to get started. Take it out, take it out. Oh, I am so happy right now. I am so happy. Y'all don't even know. Okay, I promise we have a sermon this morning. So, we're going to continue a series that we started a couple weeks ago, a series called The God That You May Not Know. This is part 3 of that message out of 4. And a couple weeks ago, if you missed it when we kicked this off, please go back on YouTube and watch it. Me and Mike got to share the stage together, and if you were here, you got a chance to experience what that was really like. It was a very unique moment, a moment I was excited about for weeks and weeks heading up to it, and I really believe God did something special. So if you miss it, we've never done it before. We shared our stories. How we discovered God, and thank you, how we discovered God in different ways, right? My story doesn't look like Mike's don't look like mine, and we shared our stories, and it was a really, really beautiful thing that really just showed God's goodness and showed how we can discover God no matter where we're at. So if you missed that week 1, oh my goodness, please go out and check it on YouTube. It's already up there. People have been telling me they watched it. It's amazing. We shared how we discovered God. We shared how God revealed himself to us. And then last week, Mike continued the series when he started talking about a particular attribute about God. And we said throughout this series, we're going to discuss 3 attributes about God that are really important. And this may be God that you don't know. And last week, Mike talked about how it's really important to understand that God is eternal. That God is forever. He existed forever. He will exist forever. God is not within time like we are. He existed before time. He created time. And he exists way after time will end, when it will, because it will end. So it was really important to catch that message as well, that God is eternal, right? So if you missed that one last week, catch that one as well. We're going to continue with part 3 today, and a second attribute about God, that not only is he eternal, today we're going to talk about that God is all-knowing. So take out your outline. We're going to talk about how God is all-knowing and what does that mean and what does it have to do with my life. So I'm going to kick that off by asking a question. Raise your hands if you know everything there is to know. Thank you. So I've been waiting for services for someone to raise their hand. Thank you. I thought it was just me that knows everything. Jeez. Of course, no one knows everything, right? And so I'm sitting here praying, preparing this message weeks ago, and I'm thinking, well, I know that God is all-knowing, but what difference does it make? And you may be sitting here thinking about the God that you may not know, and you may not know that he is all-knowing. And I ask the same question, what difference does it make? How does God knowing everything affect our life? Good question. Thanks for asking, church. In addition to being all-knowing, God is also supreme. God is also, sovereign, which means he's a supreme power. He possesses all power. Really important. But what difference does it make? And why is that such an important belief enough to talk about today? Think about this. We don't know everything there is to know, right? We don't know everything that's going to happen in the world. We don't know everything that's happening in everybody's lives that's sitting here. And I don't either. But think about this. What if no one knew? What if no one knew? What if no one knew everything? What if nobody knew if you were going to beat that sickness? Remember that? What if no one knew if your baby was ever going to get healthy again? You remember that? Remember that season that you were in that was very dark and you didn't know if you would see the end of it? I have had 2 of them in my life. Very horrible seasons that I'll never forget. What if no one knew how that was going to end? What if there was no one who you could call on? What if there was no one who you could ask for help? What if there was no one who knew how those things were going to turn out? That would feel very helpless, wouldn't it? That would feel very hopeless, wouldn't it? That would feel very uncertain, lonely, scary. I know it would have for me. If there was no one who knew everything, what would be the point of this thing we call life? But then I ask the other side. What if there's somebody who does know everything? What if somebody knew how it was going to end for you? What if someone knew that you were going to beat that sickness? What if someone knew that your baby was going to be whole and healthy? What if someone knew that there was a light at the end of that very dark tunnel that you were in the midst of that you still couldn't see? But what if somebody saw it? What if there was someone who knew everything? Wouldn't that be helpful? Wouldn't that be hopeful? Wouldn't that be a little less scary? Wouldn't that be a little less uncertain? What if there was someone who was all-knowing and sovereign, who possessed ultimate power? Someone who we could call on. Someone who could help us. See, without that kind of person, this would be a very scary, very difficult place. But I'm here to tell you that that person does exist, church. See, there's a person who knows every single thing you've ever been through. There's a person who knows the good, the bad, the ugly that's ever happened in your life. There's a person who knows every thought that you've ever thought and every thought of everyone who's ever existed in human history. There's a person who knows everything that's ever happened in the past. In fact, there's a person who knows every single thing that's ever going to happen in the future. In fact, there's this book called the Bible where this person wrote a story, and he spoke about over 1,800 things that were going to happen before they ever did happen, most of which came to pass hundreds of years after they were written. How cool is that? See, there's also someone who knows everything that's happening right now in your life, in the life of everyone in the world, everywhere in the world. In fact, that person knew it all before it ever even happened, before time ever even existed. How cool is that? See, that person is God. More specifically, the God of the Bible. Take out your outline, write this down. God's knowledge is unlimited. God's knowledge is unlimited. Right at the top of your outline, there's this verse in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 13, and it says, nothing is hidden. Nothing in all creation is hidden from God. God knows everything that there is to know. He knows it all. God's knowledge is unlimited. But what does that mean? What does that mean for us? We're going to talk about that today. See, God knows everything that there ever happened, everything that will happen, and everything that is happening. But it affects our lives in many ways. And today we're going to talk about two ways in which when we discover and do life with this God that we may not know, how his knowledge and unlimited knowledge in two areas of our life will change everything. Check this out. Let's get started. Number one, write this down. God knows everything about our future lives. God knows everything about our future lives. Number one. When we think about the future, oftentimes, when we think about the things that we don't know, when we think about the things that are yet to happen, the things that maybe will happen, it can cause us some stress sometimes. Or is that just me? Cause us some worry, some anxiety, and we start thinking about what's going to happen when we don't know. It's uncertain for us. And God knows that that causes us stress. And so we're going to look at the words of Jesus when he tells us how we should live regarding these things that cause us worry and stress about the future that's uncertain for us. And in fact, Jesus says, if you do life with me, if you do life with this God that you may not know, your life should look differently. And you should think differently about the things that are going to happen in the future, because I know everything about your future lives. Look at this. The words of Jesus in Matthew chapter 6, verse 25. Jesus says this. He said, that is why I tell you not to worry about everyday life, whether you have enough food or drink or enough clothes to wear. See, isn't life more than food and your body more than clothing? The answer is obviously yes. Look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store food in barns, for your heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you far more valuable to him than they are? The answer is obviously yes. Can all those worries add a single moment to your life? The answer is obviously no. He continues in verse 31 and he says, so don't worry about these things, saying, what will we eat? What will we drink? What will we wear? These things dominate the thoughts of, look at this, unbelievers. But your heavenly Father already knows all of your needs. Seek first the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. See, when we think about our future and we think about what we want to happen or what could happen or would happen, it can cause us stress. It can cause us worry. It can cause us anxiety. And we're at this point right at the beginning of the year where we often reflect on the previous year, right? Am I where I said I was going to be a year from now? Did I accomplish all that I wanted to accomplish? What kind of goals am I going to set this year? And we start thinking and we start planning. Sometimes that can be stressful, right? I remember, I'll tell this story in a second. For us, the future that's so uncertain is certain with God. God says, if you do life with me, you shouldn't worry about these things. You don't have to have that stress and that worry that other people who don't have me have. The other worries and cares and concerns that other people who don't do life with me care about and get concerned about. If you know me and you do life with me, you know I care for you. You know that I will provide for you. You know you've always eaten because God takes care of you. So if you know me, write this down, then you know that God always knows, cares, and provides. God knows, cares, and provides. The sovereign God knows, cares, and provides. He knows everything that's going to happen in our future lives. And if you do life with him, you know he cares about you, and so he's going to provide for you. He's not going to leave you hanging. But sometimes we don't realize that, right? Sometimes we get stuck in thinking about the future and stressing and worrying about the future. And I was there a couple weeks ago. Me and my wife having this conversation, and we're talking about our future and plans, and we start, just having this conversation. And actually, this is not in the notes, but she's going to kill me. She's pregnant with our first baby. I'm sorry, kill me later. I love you. You're my hero. So we start talking and having those conversations where you think about, okay, what's going to happen a year from now when we're thinking and planning, and just kind of a random conversation out of nowhere. But if you know me, it's never just a random conversation. I'm like, oh, this requires me planning, thinking, doing research, and I can kind of get down that road carried away and start spiraling, right, in my own mind. Because I'm a progressor and a forward thinker. It's never that simple with me, but it should have been, because don't freak out. It's just a conversation. Nothing actually needed to be done in that very moment. In fact, no matter what you do in that very moment, it doesn't change anything, right? So I started to get worried and stressed as I started to do all these things and plan and prepare and research and all that. I started to get worried. I started to get stressed about a future that's not here. Things that actually didn't matter in the very present moment. I started to stress about it. I started to worry about it. And God had to tell me, calm down, Ronnie. Calm down. Take a deep breath. Don't give so much mental energy and planning into moments that aren't even here yet, into moments that don't even affect your present. Because when I start going and I start getting carried away, I'm not present in this moment. I'm not. I'm thinking, I'm planning. Relax. Take a deep breath. If you do life with me, you know I got you. What's in the future is going to be in the future, and plan and prepare for your future when the time comes. Don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. I got you. Trust me with your future, the God who already knows your future, the God who knows, who cares, and provides. I will take care of you. And it was such a relief for me. It gave me so much peace in that moment. And I didn't know that God had to teach me that then so I could share it now. Because I don't live this thing perfectly. I sure don't. Try not to act like I do. But God knows everything. He already knows everything that's going to happen. He knows everything that you're struggling with already. And he knows how it's going to turn out. He knows that you're trying hard, and he knows what you're stressing over. He already knows everything about your future. He knows. He cares so deeply about you. And he's going to provide for you. So he wants to tell you to do life with him. Because if you do life with him, you don't have to worry, stress, because you know, I care, and I provide for you. So just like he told me, he wants to tell us, let it go. Let it go. If you trust me with your future, I got you. Don't worry, don't stress, just trust me. We can trust in the God of our future because he knows everything about our future. But God doesn't just know everything about our future. Write this down. Number 2, he also knows everything about our secret lives. He knows everything about our future lives, but he also knows everything about our secret lives. See, God knows the things that we don't tell anybody else. He knows the things that we're ashamed of. He knows the pains that we've been through, the things that cause us hurt. He knows everything. He knows all of our secrets. He knows the things that we wouldn't dare share with anybody else. And he knows the things that nobody knows about us. Everything. And for some of us, he knows that the person that we really are is not the person who we're projecting to be. It's not the person that we reveal to everybody else. He knows that some of us are pretending. He knows that some of us are two different people. He's the God who knows everything about our secret lives. He knows some of us who are acting like we've got it all figured out, but we really don't. He knows our secret sins. He knows those of us who are living in sin and pretending like we're not. He knows those of us who are walking the walk of the faith, but he also knows some of us who are just talking the talk with no action behind it, because he's the sovereign God who knows everything about our secret lives. One of the leaders in the early church named James, he writes this book to some early Christians, first century Christians, because he knows some things about their secret lives that they won't tell anyone else. And look at the warning that he tells them. Listen to this. In James chapter 2, verse 14 to 18, James says this. He said, "What good is it, dear brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but don't show it by your actions? Can that kind of faith save anyone?" The answer is obviously no. Suppose you see a brother or sister with no food or clothing, and you say, "Goodbye, have a good day, stay warm and eat well," but you don't give that person any food or clothing. What good does that do? So you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it is dead and useless. Now, some may argue, some people have faith, others have good deeds, but I say, how can you show me your faith if you don't have good deeds? I will show you my faith by my good deeds. God knows that some of us walk the walk. He knows some of us are actually trying. He knows some of us put our faith into action. And that doesn't mean that it's perfect, but that means that it's authentic and you're trying. And I hope our church is filled with a bunch of amazing people trying to discover what life with Jesus is all about. A bunch of people who are trying to walk the walk. A bunch of people who are living real, authentic lives, not saying that they have it all together, but trying to figure it out. God knows those people, and he says to them, "I'm the sovereign God who knows everything about you. I love you, and I'm proud of you." He says, you inspire others and help others with your faith. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep your face looking towards me. But the God who knows everything about our secret lives also knows some of us who are just talking the talk without any walk behind their faith. Some of us are acting like we're perfect Christians, and Lord knows we're not. In fact, rather than just trying, we're living a hypocritical life. We're living an inauthentic life than the one that we try to portray. That's a scary place to be. And for those who just talk the talk without any walk behind it, without putting any action behind their faith or behind their words, God says to them, "I'm the sovereign God who knows everything about you. I love you, but I am not proud of you right now. you're pretending and only hurting other people and fooling yourself. Please stop doing what you're doing and turn to me. See, God knows what's going on that nobody sees. He sees the good, he sees the bad, he sees the ugly. He knows our secrets. He knows our hurts. He knows our habits. He knows our hang-ups. He knows them all. And there's no hurt, no shame with God. Nothing that's hurt you that he doesn't care about. But there's also no secrets and no lies with him either. He knows them all. And think about this. And he loves us anyway. He loves us anyway. And if we're faking and pretending and having secrets and living an inauthentic life, he will forgive us still if we turn to him. That's my kind of God. I don't have it all figured out. But God says, I know everything about your future. Trust me with it. I'm going to give you peace. I'm going to give you rest. That makes a difference in your life. He also says, I'm the God who knows everything about your secret life. So why pretend? There's no need to pretend. I already know everything. Church, listen to this. This is not a place for the healed. Church is for the broken. Church is for those who need help. Am I the only one who needs help? There's no reason to pretend like we got it all together. None of us do. But this is a place where it's okay to not be okay. That's why we're here. Because we're trying. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to discover this God that we may not know. And every single week we're trying. So there's no reason, if he's the God who knows everything about our secret lives, for us to even pretend anyway. We're only fooling ourselves, right? The God that you may not know is all knowing and he's all knowing and he's sovereign. He knows everything. He knows everything about us and he knows us. Everything about our secret lives, everything about our future lives. And still, he desires to do life with us, church. That's the God that I want to spend my life getting to know. That's the God that I want to spend my life trying to get to know even more and being on this journey of discovering what life with Jesus is all about. So I don't need to have it all figured out. He already does. So the question for you, I ask, is do you want to know that God? Do you want to know the God who you may not know? Because our big idea is this, is the God that you may not know knows everything about you. Everything. And still, he wants to do life with you. Do you want to know that God? I know I do. If you do, keep coming back. Keep on this journey trying to figure it out. Keep on this journey trying to discover what life with Jesus is all about, because he is the God who is all-knowing. He knows everything about our future lives, and he's saying, would you trust me with your future lives? You don't need to stress. You don't need to worry. And he's the God who knows everything about our secret lives, and he's saying, you don't have to fake it. Look around. No one next to you has it figured out either. I know everything, so just be real. Do you want to know that God that you may not know? Church, if you do, come back next week as we finish up our series, because you're not going to want to miss learning about this God who is not all-knowing, who is all-powerful, and what difference knowing an all-powerful God makes on your life. Would you continue on this journey discovering this God that you may not know? I know I want to. Would you pray with me? Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for knowing everything about us and still accepting us. I know there's things about me that I don't share that are ugly. Sometimes I fear that I won't be accepted if people knew. But God, you know, and you still accept. I thank you that you are the God who knows everything about our future lives and everything that's going to happen. And I thank you that if we trust you, you can relieve us of the stress and worry that tomorrow causes. I pray we do life with you, the God who knows everything about our future lives. And I pray we do life with you, the God who knows everything about our secret lives. There's no hiding with you. So why hide anyway? We love you. Thank you for what you're doing in our life and in this series. This is a good one. We love you and thank you. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.